I'm really pleased to be connected virtually with all of you. I'm connecting from Spain, so it's going to be a little bit the situation I'm going to be explaining to you. And it has to do with how we have shifted to an asynchronous world. And when I say shifted, it gives the notion of time as such. And we didn't have time because, at least in my company, and don't pretend to have the universal truth, I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit what we have experienced at Amadeus. It was from one day to another because we went through the lockdown, right? So we needed to create the change management programs and accompany our managers as things were happening and discovering with them. So just 10 seconds about Amadeus. We are a company that is powering travel. We create travel technology solutions. So even if you don't know us, if you have booked a plane ticket, certainly you have been using us. So we are really the leader, the worldwide leader in providing tech solutions for the travel industry, airlines, hotels, and etc. So at the moment that the pandemic started and that the lockdown started, we had all our people that were working from home and we needed to adapt to it. And it has created what we call, I don't like it to call it the new normal, okay? Because in reality, it became the normal from one day to another, right? So all our teams have been shifting to a distributed world. And right now, as we speak, in 2022, we have 70% of the working time that is performed from home. So it's something that has been lasting for a while, and we have been accompanying our employees to it. The second thing that happened is that right now we have 60% of our employees that are not in the same location. So it has also triggered some other needs that we are going to see a little bit afterwards. The other thing that is happening is also a trend that we see overall worldwide that is going in the same direction of working in hybrid model and in a synchronous way, is that we are having more shared services and globalization of shared services that are happening in one country serving a lot of other countries. And all this has made that the interactions have been moving from physical to virtual. What does that mean? It means that all the frameworks that we're having in the past dramatically changed. And for example, I'm talking to you from home, so you can see in the back a little bit what I am. You see that I'm playing some music instruments. You can see the pictures that I have in there, and it has blurred a little bit the lines between what is the personal life and the professional life while you are working from home. The other thing that happens is that my working journey is a journey that is a sequence of personal moments and working moments. So I may be interrupted by my dog barking right now or by the Amazon delivery guy coming to my place. And in the past, when I was in the office, the working day was a full line, continuous line. And this is something that is having a huge impact in the way I perceive the work-life balance integration also. Because everything I am needs to be also projected in what the company is. The other thing that has been happening a lot is that all of a sudden we were in a different framework. So everything that we have learned until now was not perfectly adapted to the interactions that we were having in the company and with other workers. So the old tools were not helping me or helping our managers into creating the same degree of control, the same degree of predictability, and this uncertainty has generated some fear. So taking all that into account, what we have decided in the company is just to try to design a fit-for-purpose operating model that is taking into account all these problems. The new team dynamics, so how we interact one with each other in a virtual world, in a hybrid world. How do we make sure that the collective deliverables are being guaranteed at global level? How we take into account also the fact that not everybody is used the same way to the digital world. And that is something that is very important because we have tendency to believe that in tech companies like ours, people are used to digital tools or are used to express themselves in front of a camera, and it's not the case. And also how the expectations of everybody has been changing over the past month. And we are going to see that here. Because what we have seen is that leader by practicing the hybrid model, the work from home versus the work from the office, the expectations of the employees and the expectations of the executives were not the same. While employees have been practicing for a year and a half working from home, they understood that flexibility was something that they could do, but they were missing the socialization, the fact that you are in the office dealing with your colleagues that are also sometimes friends. They were worried about how their professional development will be impacted by the fact that they are not in the office. How would they be able to collaborate with the others? And that's almost the only single point that is the same with the executives, is how they create the bridges with the other people that are in the organization. And also, and I mentioned that before, what is their purpose, and is their purpose aligned with the purpose of the company? I had many employees that were coming to me saying, at the same time, for example, we are bringing people back together because we make people travel. And it was very, very, they were proud about it. And I had other employees that were telling me that because we make planes fly, it was making them feel uncomfortable because we were participating to the worsening of the climate change. So these were conversations that we were not having in the past. The executives, on the other side, they were more focused on the results and the deliverables. And they had immediate fears on the productivity. Would our engineers, our software developers be able to produce the same in a hybrid world where they are not together? Would we be able to generate the same amount of ideas, of new ideas? Would we be able to collaborate, but in the sense of, are we going to be a siloed organization from now on because we are not together? Are we going to be able to create this sense of belonging to maintain the culture of the company? Are we going to have the same capacity to react when we have an emergency problem to ensure business continuity and operations? And most of all, what the executives were fearing a lot had to do with the predictability. When you are in front of people, you have a higher sense of predictability because it goes through your eyes, it goes through your ears, and you have the immediate reaction. You can adapt what you are doing on a day-to-day basis in order to understand if you're going in the right track. And all this in a virtual world, in a place where you're not seeing each other, has been a little bit evaporated. This difference in expectations has created some frictions. The frictions have been landing in things like, for example, attrition and turnover. In the tech industry, I think that many of you have been hearing about the great resignation, the increase in turnover, and employees resigning for the last 2 years. And many of the reasons that were advanced by the employees, it was the flexibility at the organization, also the disconnection that they were experiencing while working by themselves. So we had people resigning because we were not fully in the office and they wanted to be fully in the office. And we had also people that were resigning because they wanted to be all the time at home and we were not offering that possibility. We have seen also in big tech companies, executives and CEOs saying, everybody, you come back to the office. By back to office mandates, and that's generated a lot of friction because the employees were not understanding why they needed to go back to the office, while the results that they have been provided during the last 2 years have shown that you can work from home also. So there was a price to it. And you add on top of all these, when we're talking about change, when we're talking about talking and accompanying our people throughout the change, is that we had a sweet spot at for a year and a half, but right now we have the recession that is pointing at. You have seen over the last 2-3 weeks, a lot of tech companies have been started to lay off tech employees, and this has created a higher degree of uncertainty. You see some of the data that I'm using to explain to you the overall context and this disconnection, but what is clear is all of a sudden the flexibility and working in a hybrid world has become something that is super important and is here to stay. And if I can just look at an example, which is the productivity paranoia. So it's Satya Nadella, which is the CEO of Microsoft. And Microsoft has launched one of the most exhaustive researches about how we work together in a hybrid world. And he has been pointing at those differences. And pointing out one very, very important difference is how employees feel they are productive while working in remote or in a hybrid world versus how the executives feel people are productive. And I believe that this gap has a lot to do with the fact that we didn't help people and we didn't have the time to help employees and leaders to proceed to the change. So at Amadeus, we have been analyzing a lot how to fill that gap. And we came out with a program that we call Hybrid Reset. Okay, that's a program that is enabling the teams to be more effective in virtual worlds. What we are trying to do is just to assess what is that gap and help teams to discuss what is the best way of working for them. And again, I'm not implying that what we are doing is something that is universally possible. I'm just saying that's how we are addressing it. And we believe that giving space for people to talk about it is the best way to deal with it. And we have been learning about it. So what I'm going to present to you is what are the pillars of the change management that we see in moving into a hybrid world, both for the employees and both for the leaders. The first pillar has to do with trust. And this is very difficult, especially in an engineering community, because what you need in a virtual world to develop trust are things that in the past were seen a little bit as weaknesses for our managers. For example, asking a manager to be vulnerable, asking a manager to express his fears or his weaknesses so his team has the context and has the sense of pressure that he feels on a day-to-day basis was something that was perceived by our leaders as something negative in the past. You need to show yourself very firm. You need to show yourself that you know exactly what you do. And in a virtual world, you need to have exchanges in which you are able to show your team that you have also some challenges that you need to solve. The second one has to do with empathy. So are you able to see the things from the other glasses? Third one, transparency. It's very important for you to be truthful, to be authentic. Inclusivity. Am I able to define what are the different profiles of the different people I have in front of me in order to adapt what I'm doing? It's not the same, the life that, for example, a woman has at home when she's working from home, simply because there's a role that has been attributed. And for example, I've seen many times kids that are interrupting women while they are in a conference like we are right now, but I've been very little that men are being interrupted that way. So we need to take into account the fact that there are some things that are happening at home that may be impacting the way that they work from home. The third one, on this pillar, I would say one of the trust issues that we have seen is the difference between what we say we are going to do and the things that we do on a day-to-day basis. And this is breaching trust for people. If we say that we are going to do something and then we apply something different on a day-to-day basis, people have a tendency not to believe anymore what is happening. And in a world where you don't have that physical interaction, you cannot correct, this is very damaging. All these participate to create trust and psychological safety, which is for us the master word in there, how you create a place where people feel safe to express themselves. Because without this trust, they do not raise their hand to tell you that something is going wrong. In the past, you were able to see when something was not going right. Asynchronicity, it has to do with the fact that right now, all the things that you are seeing in there, the team dynamics, the tools, the way you work from home, the way we work in the office, are things that have been dramatically impacted by the way that we are not in the same space or sometimes not even in the same time zone. So we are asking our teams to discuss within themselves what is the best way for them, taking into account their level of maturity, to work together. If there are certain activities that need to happen in the office, face-to-face, via email, or via video conference like we're doing right now, they need to decide together what is the best way for them to deliver. And through that, we are going to adapt the rest, the tools. We're going to adapt also the kind of material that we send at you at home, depending if you're going to spend a lot of time at home or not while working with the rest of the teams. We're going to adapt also the office design. So we will have more collaboration spaces or more individual spaces, depending on the choice that the teams are doing. Something that is super, super important in there. It has to do with the better meetings. We have seen that there is a proliferation of meetings. So what we have been doing a lot is giving our teams the capacity to decide when a meeting is required versus when a meeting is not required. So we are establishing a decision matrix in order to understand, do we need a meeting or not? What is going to be the content of the meeting? Is this something that can be done by one person, or do we need all together to be in there? Because there's a burnout on the meetings too. Last one, that is the most important, I believe, for all this, is that in a world where there is no physical interaction, you need data. you need to be based on data. So we have multiplied both the surveys, we have multiplied the way that we use artificial intelligence to understand what our people are telling us, how they come to the office, what are the reasons why they come to the office, what are the activities that they are doing at home. We plug all that together and we adapt also what is happening and the solutions that we are offering to our people based on the data and not on intuitions. And that's super important because out of it, we have what we call intention. Intention is that in the past, there were some things that were happening spontaneously in the office. And right now, these things are not happening. So you need to create them. When we're talking about sense of belonging or culture, there were some things that were happening normally, just by its own dynamic when you were in the office, and they are not happening while you are at home. Now I hang up from you guys, and I'm going to be at home. I'm not going to be in the office. So the things that were creating the culture at the office, these are things that are not present while I'm home. So we need to recreate that. We need to have an intention to project the culture of the company, and we need to do that almost with anything. How do I create the environment where my team, where the employees feel that they can contribute the most? How do I create a situation where my employees participate in the decision, so we together decide the alternatives and we decide what is the end game? How do I implicate all the stakeholders in order to be sure that they understand what is going to happen and they're going to contribute to it? Explain what are the expected results of any change that I'm putting or implementing, so everybody understands also that it's not a way to challenge them, but it's really a way to make things better. Implement quickly. This is something that is very, very interesting right now, is that as change occurred, okay, we are being all the time a little bit late. Change occurred. We are in reality. The reality is hybrid, and we didn't have the proper time to improve what we were doing over the last 2 years. We need to catch up with the change. So we need to quickly implement and understand that we need to learn and improve in order to correct the things that we are not doing well, but be very satisfied with the fact that we may make some mistakes, right? And we need to rely on data in order to avoid just confirming what are our bias. Last time, it requires reiteration. When we try something and it doesn't work, it's not a problem. This is the way it should be done right now, from now on, as the change is occurring. So if you want to be part of the change, you need to reiterate. You need to understand that this is a continuous improvement situation. What we're trying through Hybrid Reset in our company is to really have all those topics being discussed at team level. So each team is able to define what is the sweet spot between the personal sphere, the professional sphere, between me, the organization, and the team, in order to together be able to implement the change that is coming forward. And what we see in the future is that these kind of changes are going to happen more and more. So the objective is not that much to educate our people to the new things that are coming, but really to educate our people to be able to change constantly. So it's as much a program to help people to adapt to the hybrid world than to educate our people to be in permanent changing mode. And that's pretty much all from my side. I tried to compact in a few minutes what we are doing for years, and I hope that it was of any interest to you, and I'm open to any questions if they come. Thank you very much.
Întrebări din sală, dacă avem.
So, a few questions. To what extent do you give employees the freedom to choose how or when they work? What rules do you have?
Okay, at Amadeus, we have decided that each single employee is able to decide to work from home up to 50% of his time, okay? Beyond 50%, there's a conversation that needs to happen with the manager and with the rest of the team in order to understand if the deliverables that are collective are not being threatened, okay? So we have the chance that 95% of our employees are employees that are developers or that are office workers. So it means that they can, most of them work from home. So there are other things that we have been implemented also, is that, for example, we have been limiting the use of full remote options because we have seen that there are many managers that are not very comfortable with the fact that someone never shows at the office. Our objective is also that little by little we're going to increase this capacity to be full remote. But what we are really trying to check is that we are in the sweet spot between what the organization can afford from a cultural perspective and what the employees are willing from a flexibility perspective. And I think that this part needs to be done together. So this sweet spot of 50% you can choose from by yourself without even saying anything, just it's your choice and your right to do it, up to 50% from home is the right equilibrium. So it helps also the managers to practice the work from home without feeling threatened.
Do you feel that the hybrid way of working has impacted the human relationships? Do you have special team building programs?
So what we are seeing is that at the beginning, okay, let me put it that way. The people that were already in the company for a while, they didn't have that much problem because they already had the network. Right? So when you have people that you are already trusted and you know very well, it's not a problem for you to be contacting them even in a virtual world. Now, if you were not that long in the organization and you don't have that very solid network within the organization, yes, there was a disconnection. It was more difficult to be connected to the others. Those people, especially in the first 2 years of their career at Amadeus, have been asking us to create more social events in the offices. They have been asking us to be followed or monitored by mentors, by buddies, etc. So we put in place a specific program for the onboarding and also for the people that are in less than 2 years in the organization to accompany them through that integration to the company. The other thing that we are seeing right now is that we have more and more people coming to the office, okay, by themselves. So even if they chose a hybrid working model in which they were supposed to be at home 4 days per week, okay, they're coming back more and more to the office when they need that. So people are self-regulating. The last point into it is exactly what you are saying, is how do we organize collective meetings? How do we organize team building in our organization? And the notion of team building is not the same than in the past. We're seeing a lot of companies, Airbnb, Pleo, companies that are trying to see if they organize team camps, quarterly team camps, in which instead of being in an office, you create a specific environment where you're going to bring qualitative team buildings to the people, flying them from wherever they are. Right? So this notion of quality versus quantity is one that we are playing also with at Amadeus.
And one more question. Was automation an ongoing process when the pandemic started in your company?
What do you mean by automation? Digitalization?
I think so. This is a question from one of our attendees. So yeah, I think.
Okay, so if you mention digitalization, we were quite used to this. Okay, we had the tools. We were ready to have this kind of things. Our companies distributed almost all over the world. I think 170 countries. So we were used to this kind of things. We had the tools. We were not in need to learn how to work with Zoom, with Teams, so that part was not a problem. We had to upgrade our tooling, our capacities. We have been, for example, implementing Mural. We have been using other kind of tools in there. We were in the process of implementing Workday, for example, from a human resources perspective. It was already decided before the pandemic, and we were in the process of doing so. So having all the centralized data, or having all the digitalization in place, of course, helped a lot for us. If you're talking about automation in the sense of industrialization, this is not the case for us. Usually we leave a lot of space and margin of maneuver to the teams to decide how they are behaving and how they are working. Okay, so we are not in the automation process of industrializing things. So people, every single team does the same in the same way. We leave that space and for them to decide how they are more productive and how they work better together.
Thank you so much, Luciano.